What's up, MMA fans? MMA Riddlers here, back to do another video. I've been away a long time, close to a couple of years. Work's been crazy busy for me. Life in general's been busy, but I'm raring to get back into videos. I'm gonna continue on with the prospect videos. They've been great. From the viewers aspect. Lots of messages and comments and fighter names and a lot of the fighters we talked about went on to have great success in the UFC and Bellator, Strikeforce, etc. It's been kind of rewarding that way to see some of the guys plug through. But I'm also going to put together a different type video series. And we'll get into some of them in future videos. But for tonight, I'm going to start a new video set, and these videos are going to be fighters I'd like to see get signed to a major promotion. Now, to me, a major promotion nowadays, I'm basically interested in the two big ones, the UFC, and I believe Bellator has climbed the ranks. They put on so many cards that, they're quickly becoming number two. So, nonetheless, this doesn't mean these fighters are going to be superstars or they're not young prospects. It will probably be fighters that have, been around a long time and deserve a shot, or fighters that have been getting so much press that I'm sick of hearing about them, and I'd like to see them get into a major promotion to see how they do against the top flag. So, nonetheless, should be interesting. And we'll start off video number one. I'm only going to talk about one fighter, and that fighter is Glover Teixeira. 15 wins, 2 losses, 11 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's a Brazilian fighter, 32 years of age. I got him listed as 6'2". I've seen 3 measurements for him. 6'3" is another measurement I've seen, and I also seen 5'10". So I'm sticking with 6'2". He's been around fighting since 2002. Trains and instructs at the well-known fight camp The Pit alongside John Hockerman and Chuck Liddell. Also a member of the Gruaz Valley Tudo team, and of course Black House. There was rumors of him getting signed by the UFC, but apparently he's got green card issues. He has fought in America before. I think his last fight in the U.S. was in 2008, but nonetheless, he does have the visa issues down, and they're going to have to get worked out before he comes stateside. Known for being a very aggressive and wild striker with big power. Obviously, a lot of people think he would have issues in the UFC because of all the great wrestlers, and that might be true. It's loaded with great wrestlers in, the UFC and Bellator for that matter, and they give strikers big problems. But to give this guy some credit, he's just not a striker. 2009 Brazilian Abu Dhabi ADCC trials champ in the under 99 kilogram division. Also finished second in the ADCC in 2011. Grappled with the likes of Jeff Monson and Brandon Vera. He actually has a submission grappling victory over Dean Lister. So, he does have a legitimate ground game. BJJ background, boxing, Hawaiian Kempo. Be interesting to see this guy move up. He's the 100 kg Shudo champion. And obviously, like I said, people believe you'd have issues, but we take a closer look at this guy and his record and dig a little deeper, we'll see that the guy is very talented. So let's look at his last few fights. His last win, and you can check it out here on YouTube. There's a good video up of it. It was actually on HDNet Fights. He had a brutal knockout win over Marvin Eastman. Now, of course, Marvin Eastman's well-traveled, and, he's been beaten quite a bit lately, but he's still a tough fight, and, if you watch the fight, it actually wasn't a cakewalk, but once he started getting his range and landing and stuff, it became apparent that Marvin Eastman was outgunning this fight, and he was literally put to sleep. The fight before that, another victory over an ex-UFC fighter, Antonio Mendez. He submitted Antonio, I believe it was rear naked choke, first or second round, I'm not sure. The fight before that, he defeated heavyweight Marcio Cruz. A one-sided TKO win. Marcio Cruz, he actually fought at 235 in that fight. Marcio Cruz was pushing 260, came in terrible shape. For those of you who don't know Marcel Cruz, he fought in UFC, defeated Frank Mir by TKO. He does have a win over Dan Christensen, he's fought Rafael Cavalcante, Andre Arlasque. He had a split division loss to Jeff Monson. So, I mean, that was a pretty significant win for Teixeira to beat Marcel Cruz. He also defeated Daniel Cabrera by decision and, basically controlled him the whole fight and didn't beat him with striking, pretty much, defeated him with wrestling. For those of you who don't know Daniel Cabrera, he's an experienced Spanish fighter, ADCC competitor with a win over Attila Vey, who Bellator fans will soon find a lot out about. He also fought and drew Muhammad Khalilov and Gilbert Ivo, and he's the only fighter to beat Vladislav Valesky, the M1 Global Light Heavyweight Champ, who was 15-1. So a win over Dan Cabrera is also a big win. Also a victory over Joaquin Ferreira, the only man to defeat Junior Dos Santos. Early on in his career, he knocked out Sokoudjou. Sokoudjou just, this was just prior to Sokoudjou knocking out Little Log and Ricardo Arona, where people were really kind of talking Sokoudjou, but previously he was knocked out by Teixeira. He also defeated Matt Horwich, UFC veteran and IFL veteran. Jorge Oliveira. Take a look at this fight on YouTube, guys. I mean, brutal KO. 5 seconds into the fight, really vicious knockout. Check it out. And, Jorge Oliveira is also relative. I mean, he's defeated James Irvin and Mike Van Arsdale. Also Shoney Carter. So, I mean, he was no pushover either, and basically, Teixeira walked right through him. But sometimes you can't always judge a fighter without watching a little bit of tape on him, some background kind of checks. I mean, as dominant as he's been, if you take a look at his fight against Bucky Acosta, a fighter who was 4-9, he did defeat Bucky Acosta in the first round via TKO. But if you watch the fight, he actually got dropped during the fight. So, you can't always judge a fighter by his record, but, if he beats a fair number of decent, experienced fighters, which he has, you got to give the guy some credit. So, and this guy does get a fair bit of press, so rather than see him keep fighting in smaller orgs and getting these victories, it really would be nice to see him step up and put him in there with the top dogs. He's 32 years old, and, it's time for him to get a shot. Now, just to kind of finish up there, again, I mentioned that, apparently he was having green card issues and they're close to being worked out. In the meantime, we just announced on Tatum.com that he has an upcoming fight on November 27th against Rico Rodriguez. So that's very interesting. I know Rico just came off a knockout loss to Seth Petrozelli. Before that, he was on a big roll. He was actually started looking after himself. He was in better shape and, putting some wins together, trying to get back to the UFC. He was looking to do so. I still think this is a fight, that Glover Teixeira should win, but it's a dangerous fight because, for one thing, he's a big man at 6'4", 2-something, former UFC heavyweight champ. It just seems like a dangerous fight, although, Teixeira, I would say, is the favorite. So, if he does beat Rico, then I'm sure he has to get signed. Once this visa gets worked out, I think it's a pretty well done deal. If he does come to the UFC, is he going to be dominant? I don't think he'll be dominant. Is he going to be competitive? Absolutely. Can he win some fights there? Absolutely. It depends on the matchups, all that kind of stuff. So, but nonetheless, I've seen this guy in so many different websites, articles on him, MMA Weekly, Sherdog, Just would like to see the guy get in there with the proper, fight with the proper top fighters, and let's see how he does. So, nonetheless, that's the video. Would definitely like to hear some comments from, some of the people here on YouTube and the MMA community. maybe some fighters you guys know, we can kind of do the same thing we've done for the prospect videos. We can have a viewers picks of guys they like to see get in UFC. So feel free to comment if you kind of like the idea of these videos. I'd love to hear about it. Positive, negative, all that kind of stuff. So thanks for listening, guys, and I look forward to many more videos and look forward to hearing from you guys. So peace out, and I'll be back soon.